Code Ninja Security Advisory initiated. Listen up, defenders, because we've got a perimeter defense mandate in effect right now. Today's explainer is breaking down CVE 2026-43658. This is a critical WebKit and WebKitGTK vulnerability, and it's actively threatening both the Apple and Linux ecosystems. My objective here is incredibly simple. I want to provide you with the immediate mitigation intelligence you need to force a vendor patch, or at the very least, lock down your systems before threat actors can opportunistically exploit this thing at scale. Let's get right into it. Let's establish the stakes right off the bat here. 8.8. That is the CVSS version 3 base score assigned by Red Hat, cementing this as a high-severity, quote-unquote, important threat. But what does that number actually mean for your perimeter? Well, we are talking about the potential for unauthorized remote code execution and widespread denial of service. Literally, unexpected, catastrophic process crashes triggered just by rendering maliciously crafted web content. It's a massive blind spot. And the thing is, this wasn't a slow burn at all. This threat escalated rapidly. Back on May 11, 2026, Apple and the National Vulnerability Database published the initial disclosure. Honestly, it initially just looked like a standard Safari crash bug. But fast forward to May 18th, and SentinelOne's technical analysis dropped. They revealed a much broader denial of service threat that requires absolutely zero authentication. And then comes the real kicker. On June 2nd, Red Hat publicly disclosed that this exact same WebKit flaw impacts enterprise Linux. So we went from a consumer tablet glitch to a full-blown enterprise server threat in under a month. All right, before we execute the deep dive into the root cause and mitigation protocols, we need a quick secure comms check. Is your link established? To maintain real-time intelligence gathering on 0 days exactly like this one, go ahead and hit subscribe to @cybertech79 and enable those notifications. You really should consider it a security necessity for your daily operations. Also, I need a formal acknowledgement of Intel receipt, so just hit the like button right now to ACK. Got it? Link established? Awesome. Let's proceed. Okay, so let's dive into the actual root cause here. This exploit leverages weaknesses categorized under CWE 119 and CWE 120. Basically, we're looking at improper memory handling, where operations occur outside the strict bounds of a memory buffer. In plain English, it's a classic buffer overflow, and this is all happening right within the WebKit-based content processing path. Seriously, all an attacker has to do is serve up some maliciously crafted web markup, maybe a script, or even media. The second your rendering engine processes that untrusted content, the memory mishandling triggers. That causes components like com.apple.webkit.webcontent to just unexpectedly terminate or, worse, actually execute unauthorized commands right there on your network. Now, taking a look at the sheer blast radius of this vulnerability, it perfectly illustrates how shared code bases completely bridge the gap between consumer hardware and enterprise architecture. On one side, in the Apple ecosystem, you've got massive, widespread exposure. We're talking Safari, iOS, iPadOS, macOS Tahoe, tvOS, visionOS, and even watchOS prior to version 26.5. And simultaneously, the Red Hat ecosystem is right there in the crosshairs too, impacting enterprise Linux 7, 8, and 9 via those vulnerable WebKitGTK packages. If you have these assets active on your network right now without patches, you are entirely exposed. No two ways about it. So the obvious question is, how do the threat actors actually get in? Well, the exploitation vectors here are frankly highly concerning. Opportunistic exploitation requires absolutely zero authentication. Zero. The attacker doesn't need prior access, they certainly don't need elevated privileges, and the attack complexity itself is categorized as low. But the most crucial point to pay attention to is this final vector. In specific Linux environments that are running gnome-shell, this vulnerability is exploitable from the local network with zero user interaction required. We're talking about a true zero-click attack right on your graphical server interface. Just let that sink in for a second. Now, you might actually see some conflicting intel out there regarding the severity metrics. For instance, Red Hat assesses this at an 8.8, labeling it important, while CC8AP scores it as 7.5 or high. So why the variance, right? Well, CVSS scores for open source components often fluctuate. It really depends on vendor-specific compilation and exactly how the software is shipped or built into the given distribution. But honestly, don't let the numbers distract you. Both of these authorities confirm that this is a high-level threat and it absolutely requires an immediate tactical response. All right, let's move right into the mitigation protocol. Consider these your non-negotiable patching orders. Step 1, you need to update all Apple OS devices to version 26.5 immediately. That is your absolute firm baseline. Step 2, over on your Red Hat servers, do not, under any circumstances, process untrusted web content. Remove those vulnerable WebKit GTK packages if they're currently running via a graphical interface. And step 3, you have to enforce these minimum OS version baselines across your entire fleet using your mobile device management or MDM tools. Mandating compliance isn't optional here, it's essential. Now, I know the reality on the ground. Patching your entire fleet overnight just isn't always operationally feasible. So, if you're in that boat, here are your temporary tactical workarounds. First up, restrict browsing strictly to trusted sites via some really robust web filtering policies. Second, you want to block known malicious domains at your enterprise web gateways and make sure you inspect content delivered to those Apple endpoints. For any high-risk user groups sitting on unpatched Apple devices, go ahead and temporarily disable JavaScript in Safari. And on the Linux side, you can safely strip out the unused WebKitGTK3 packages entirely. They aren't required by any package, so removing them won't break your functionality, but it will buy you the crucial time you need to execute a full, proper rollout. There is, however, a massive operational red flag regarding the Linux remediation that we need to talk about. Big warning here. Removing required WebKit GTK4 packages, I'm talking about things like gnome-shell or Evolution Data Server, will straight up break your GNOME graphical interface entirely. It's just a fact. If you execute this mitigation to secure the system, those servers must be managed purely via the terminal interface from that point forward. You really have to weigh the operational trade-off here. Do you secure the graphical interface by completely removing it, or do you maintain graphical functionality and just accept the extreme risk of a zero-click exploit? In a critical zero-day scenario like this, I'm telling you, terminal management is the only secure path. You might be asking, why are we broadcasting this intel quite so aggressively today? Well, it all comes down to the operational reality of Coordinated Vulnerability Disclosure, or CVD. The bottom line is, users need to know. You need to know so you can protect your systems and infrastructure long before threat actors can exploit them at scale. Vendors need the pressure to issue rapid patches, and defenders like us need actionable intelligence to mitigate the threat before adversaries develop automated exploit chains. We disclose this stuff to force the fix, strip away all the ambiguity, and ultimately protect the perimeter. Which brings us to the final assessment. I want you to really look at your architecture right now. Look closely at your Apple fleet, look at your Linux servers, ask yourself, is your perimeter truly secure, or are you literally just one malicious web page away from a catastrophic system crash or, worse, unauthorized code execution? Take the intelligence you've gathered from this explainer today, go deploy those patches, and execute those workarounds immediately. Until the next disclosure comes across the wire, I'm your host, Code Ninja. Stay secure.